everybody, what's happening? I'm Tommy, and you're on the lifeboat. Yep, Truth Finder says dirtbag, in my opinion. Glad I'm able to join this live. Always give me the creeps, just like Diddler. Yeah, Z, B, and t'others. Do me a favor, everybody. Smack that like button and then make a little noise. Throw some numbers up there. Give me a 1 versus a 2 if you think this guy's a dirtbag. Honestly, 1 if you think he's a good guy, 2 if you think he's a dirtbag. And I'm gonna make a case here that's gonna be odd, right? It's gonna be a little odd, and I'll tell you why it's gonna be a little odd. Because I'm not gonna talk to you about him kicking it with Diddy and things of that nature. We're gonna get ugly. This is going way past that, peeps. This is gonna go way past that. We're gonna don the tinfoil hat. It's Friday after all. Terrence, good to see you. Nicola, what's happening? Blue Waters, good to see you. Pamela Morrow is here without feathers. I have said a million times, I prefer not a feather on that bird. Anne from Massachusetts, Malvakai. The Arabian Bard, Badger Life. Yeah, dirtbag is a crip. That's what he says. AC, Blake Anderson, Milwaukee Anderson, Samantha Askey, Mr. Anderson. Jen E, how are you doing? Debbie Blair, good to see you. Mad Tarts, what's up? Caitlin's here. Haley Ryan. Shane, how are you, man? Marmelo. Sherry LeBron, good to see you. Dr. Nick Rivera. Welcome, Dr. Nick. Kirsten, loving it. From Glasgow. How cool is that? Tommy Bird, Estelle Pretorius, Davey, Jason P, there he is. Chris Kaiser. Lisa Pritchard, good to see you. Gemini Girl 65 is here. F my dentures. Love that. I'm sorry, I do. Bobble Jean. Or is that Bobby Jean? It is. It's Bobby Jean. Is not my love just a girl. Yeah, I don't know what got into me. Tina, good to see you. Brenda, how are you? Dan Moody. I was about to bust out. The butterflies would have been flying away. I shan't. So here's the thing, people. Let's take this thing out to see. Here's the thing. I'm not going to make a case about this guy going to freak-offs. Do I think he probably did? I think everybody here is creepy. Right? I think everybody here is creepy. But I think at the end of Tupac's life, these two weren't friends. That's what I think. And I think that March is coming up. We talked about March. March is going to be a big deal because on March the 7th, federal government is going to drop the Enterprise letter. Right? The Enterprise letter, whose mission to go where no man has gone before. Their mission on the Enterprise letter is going to be to spell out all of the crimes that took place, who was involved, how they did it, all of that jazz, right? Yeah, you know something? I got massive snow here. We had the cats and the dogs outside. It's so much fun when the snow is flying. It really is. It's a hoot. But that Enterprise letter comes out on March 7th, and it's going to spill the beans on a lot of people. We're going to find out who's involved. We're going to find out who else, right? Who else is in this case? And that's a kind of an important thing at this point, people. It really is. By the way, smack that like button. Honestly, we're trying to push this algorithm. And the reason I didn't do this for the first 4 years I was a YouTuber. Believe that? Didn't do that for the first 4 years I was a YouTuber. And now what I'm realizing is it does push you out further. On the shows, I started to write down and journal on shows that I did this and on shows that I didn't. And saying things like, hit the subscribe button. As it turns out, about 40% of you don't hit subscribe. And maybe that's because I don't ask you enough. Hey, man, how about hitting that subscribe button? I have a goal. I'd like 6 million subscribers. I'd like to pull that out by Thanksgiving if we could. Feisty Irish, good to see you. Nurse Nat, what's happening? Kathy Ann's here. Good to see you, Kathy Ann. Karma Chameleon. Angie Mo, what's up? Millie the Dandelion. Angie Mo, how about this weather? Isn't this lovely? I mean, this is lovely. Moose, who has the thickest coat of any cat you've ever seen. I'm not kidding. This cat's got a coat like a Maine Coon cat. Like, I am thoroughly convinced he would swim and not have any problem in the water. He is so thick and burly through his fur. It's like It's a pelt. It's not fur. It's a pelt. Majesty, how are you? I'm not kidding either. Nancy Nurse, good to see you. It is literally a pelt. Lynn Sanity. What's up, Lynn Sanity? Good to see you. Irish 47 is here. Lisa Pritchard. But yeah, super. So he got outside and it was snowing, and I thought, oh, he is not going to want to be outside, the poor cat. And he just went, got down into, like he was inside. He went into loaf mode as the snow fell on top of him, and he was just chilling and looking around like, hey, it's all good. His brother, not so much. Seamus O'Groton was like, I'm on inside, a little heat. I had to actually pick Moose up and bring him inside. He chases snowflakes. As they hit the ground, he sees it and he dives after it, and then he sees one guy out of the corner of his eye. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen. Great animals, man. So much fun playing with the animals in the snow. The Enterprise letter drops on the 7th of March. You know what else happens in March? Keefe D is going to go to trial in March, right? No one has ever been charged with the murder of Tupac Shakur, right? And they're going to be taking Keefe D to trial for that murder. Now, allegedly, of everybody that was in the car, everyone else is dead. The only person left is Keefe D, and they're trying to get a charge out of this. But I want to tell you something, people. This is so this is where it gets weird. You're saying, what's this got to do with anything? There's a lot of people out there that are making a really good case for the fact that there are some people that really had a vested interest in that shooting going down that night, right? And we all concentrate on what Diddy might have wanted out of this and how it would benefit him if Pac disappeared or whatever. But I think you got to start looking at who would have benefited, right, if Suge Knight disappeared. Like maybe that shooting had nothing to do with Tupac. Like maybe Tupac got in the way, and maybe they were looking to take out Suge Knight. And if they were looking to take out Suge Knight, because this is how you got to kind of think maybe like a dirtbag. But if the shooters were not trying to get Pac, but were trying to get Suge, who would have benefited the most if Suge got capped? That's the question. Chris says, will Diddy be called as a witness and be escorted to the trial, you think? I think there's a decent chance they're going to try to call Diddy. I think that there's a chance that could happen. I don't know that Diddy would do it. I mean, you can just be a dick, right? You know how they say, well, they'll just bring him in and treat him like a hostile witness. That kind of stuff happens in the movies. You got nothing to lose. Like the Diddler's got nothing to lose. They can bring him in there and they'd go, I'm ordering you right now, or we hold you in contempt of court. You can hold your mom in contempt of court, right? Start dropping F-bombs on him because it makes absolutely no difference. You know what I mean? When you're in that much trouble, you're in that much trouble. You're in that much trouble. But guess who would have really benefited if that bullet had found, let's say that bullet had hit Suge Knight in the temple. If you chase that question down. Alois, first made alive. Greetings from sunny South Africa. Love your and Reese's show. Well, how cool is that? That's a great thing to say. I love that. We're going to be firing up the Reese and Tommy show again. We've been doing a lot of talking about it, and we're going to be spending some time on the Colts and Crims. We have a lot of fun when we go over there. We really do. Well, that's a nice thing to say. Watched the show with your fiance on Scientology. Absolutely fascinating. Didn't realize just how bad they are. Great show with a wonderful couple. Well, that's a kind thing to say as well. I really appreciate that. And I will pass that on to the old fiance. Well, the young fiance, really. Got to be careful with that. The door will break open. She'll have a frying pan in her hand. Hey, Becky Lynn, how are you? Beth knows photos. How are you? Good to see you. Yadira, there you are. Where have you been? Ashrock's Fire Lass. Hello, peoples. Well, good to see you. Bugalugs? Bugalugs, you say? Well, all right. So here's my thing. Why wasn't, if you've ever heard any of the people talk about this, there's something worth chasing down, right? There are people within the Diddy verse, and I talk about this all the time. If you're going to follow the Diddy stuff, and you're really going to look into this, there are some people that you've got to look into and you've got to deep dive, right? If you don't have a pretty good idea of what's going on with Jaguar Wright and the things that she said in the past, then you're going to think she's absolutely kooky. But if you follow the stuff that she said in the past, you'll realize that there's been a lot of prophetic stuff that has come out of this woman's mouth, right? Gene Deal is another one of those people that you really got to listen to everything that cat says, because it really gives you a screenshot of the diddler when in the early days of his rise to fame and through all that. And he's a very clear voice. His story doesn't change. But you got to check out Choke No Joke, right? You want to check out somebody that is an absolute machine, right? You know what? I love Reese as well. Is she here? Did I see her? Because I missed it. See, this is what happens when you start talking. No, there she is. Uh-oh. Looking for my frying pan. I'll be right there. Well, good to see you. There she is. There she is. Yeah, the frying pan's never far away. Good to see you, babe. So this is where we're at, right? This is where we're at. We start getting into a very interesting area of conversation. This trial is going to be fascinating. There's a lot of people that say it's suspect as hell that Snoop Dogg was not in Las Vegas that night. There's also a bunch of talk about, and I have defended him on this in the past, because they said he had a walkie-talkie on him so that he could listen to everything that was going on at the time with security. And this made no sense to me at all, right? And my defense, I came on and said, whoa, keep in mind when this took place, and realize that back then, one of the hot technologies was that Nextel talk to, it was you had a radio ability so that you could cut down massively on what it cost to make cell phone calls, right? If you happen to be watching this and you're a youngster, they used to charge you for cell phone time by the minute. Yeah. It was a big deal. It really was. It cost a lot of money. They had to change all of that up. But back in the day, allegedly, I'm sorry, you know what? This doesn't get said enough. Yeah, this is funny as hell. Would you look at this? Your woman actually knows how to use a frying pan? Go figure. Lucky man. Yeah, we had roaming fees. You still listen on to police scanners. But Snoop Dogg apparently didn't have a Nextel phone, right? The more you deep dive into this, apparently that dude had a walkie-talkie. Why was he not there, right? Why was he not there? And why was he paying attention to everything? And he told all of his boys, apparently, all the Dog Pound folks, allegedly, he told all his guys, don't go out there. He also allegedly said to Tupac, man, I don't think you ought to go out there. Right? And Tupac said, nah, man, I'm going. He said, be careful. I don't think Tupac was the target, man. I don't. And I think if you start watching Choke No Choke, you're going to see this dude spit stuff out like you haven't seen other people, right? I don't know how to describe. If you've ever seen, do me a favor, put a deuce in the chat if you've ever seen Choke interviewed, right? If you've ever seen Choke on any, either on his own platform or on someone else's platform, put a deuce in the chat if you've seen Choke before. This is an amazing individual with how he delivers. This guy can deliver a really, really you know something? I hope she heard that. Where are you? Did you hear that, frying panner? So I used to like Tyler Perry says Badger Life, but not anymore. Well, a lot of people are getting outed, right? A lot of people are getting outed. And Snoop Dogg's a lot of fun, people. He really is. But when you start listening to Choke spit out what happened, his take on the Tupac assassination, murder, shooting, whatever you want to call it. Choke's take on that, I'm sorry. It's not like other people's, man, right? Dead Cell, I agree. Look, no disrespects, right? No disrespect at all. But that's exactly what happened. I'm sorry, but all of that entire lifestyle at the time, the glorification of this. So look, you want to don the tinfoil hat. This is a perfect time to put it on, right? Get out your tinfoil hats. But there are a lot of people out there that say the powerful elites drove gangster rap, right? So that the up and coming kids would create more crime, which could drive more people into the prison system, which could create more money, right? That all of this was designed and trickle into that the spirits industry as well, right? Tie in, say, somebody, I don't know, like Diageo, right? And you get somebody like, I don't know, BlackRock, right? A big organization like BlackRock, which allegedly owns a bunch of private prisons. They also own a bunch of stock in Diageo, right? And it starts to look like, when you get all of these things and put them all together, you get a perfect storm. The United States of America makes up 4% of the population of planet Earth, right? But we're 26% of all people who are incarcerated are in this country. A quarter of everybody in prison is in the United States worldwide. With us only being 4% of the population, I was told there would be no math, but that doesn't add up, man, right? That doesn't add up. And it starts to look like a prison industrial complex. It starts to look like this is a big deal. And then you throw in again, it sounds crazy stuff, right? It really does. It sounds crazy. But the number one cause of death in our country is drug overdose, right? It really seems like one of those situations where we're being slaughtered and we're being locked up. One of the greatest resources that we have in this country is disappearing to the tune of about 300 a day, right? These overdoses, although they kill both genders, absolutely everybody is susceptible to this. But the vast majority of people that are killing are men. And they're killing men of military age, right? Literally, or fighting age would be a better way to put it, right? 18 to 55, number one cause of death is drug overdose. Now you can get paranoid and you can start talking about crazy stuff. But then you take on top of that and you say, how many people have come through the border? And get a look at the videos coming across the border, because people will scream about all of the families and all of the kids, but get a look at who's coming across the border. Military age men. Crap loads of them. Crap loads of them. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're not bringing kids across, because they are. They absolutely are. But I think they're bringing the kids across for money. It's how they're going to get on their feet when they get to this country. Right. The armbands that these people wear when they come across the border allegedly designate how much time they're going to have to put in to pay back the cartels that got them into the U.S. And they pay that time off on their knees or on their back. And this is a horrific industry that, unfortunately, people will be paying off with their kids, not just themselves. And it's hard to wrap your brain around. And it's not a subject that anybody wants to talk about, right? For a crap load of reasons. Number one, they're going to demonetize the crap out of it anytime you talk about it, right? Oh, I believe this. I absolutely believe this. There is a conception that if you're coming across the border with kids, you're more likely to get across. So a lot of times these kids aren't necessarily even related to the people. We're getting better at that at the border to test these people for DNA to make sure that the people coming across are related, because there was an epidemic of people coming across that weren't. But that's great. Unfortunately, if you find out that they're not, then what? Right? Now you got a kid on your hands and you have no idea. It's just a terrifying, terrifying thing. Yeah, it is awful. It is, isn't it? It's absolutely awful. Yeah, Dr. Nick Rivera says, I remember when smuggling people was run by mom and pop operations, the good old days. Yeah, good times. Well, for real, right? No, for real. And I knew a bunch of guys in prison for it, right? I knew a bunch of cats in prison for it. It's and again, in the old days, it wasn't as dangerous as it was. It was usually people smuggling a few people across the border, for some money. And you had coyotes that would bring them, to a border, and get them from there across into places like Arizona or whatever. Now it is a big, huge operation, and they coordinate. It's terrifying, man. It's absolutely terrifying. And then what they do is they will send, because we'll allow you to schedule your way in. You get on an app and you tell them you're coming, and you can all come to one border crossing, and they'll process you. And while they're processing 2,000 of you, right, they send all of the backpackers, right, guys just coming through loaded to the gills, right, with fake Percocet 30s. And those fake Percocet 30s contain either fentanyl or a drug called iso or phytonitazines or nitazines, right? It's a very rugged synthetic opiate that's actually, believe it or not, considerably stronger than fentanyl. And when I say considerably, depending on how the batch is made, it could be 20 or 30 times stronger than fentanyl. Like fentanyl isn't bad enough. And then because and sorry people, but I was addicted to this stuff for a long time. This is what I was. I'm talking about me. But the junkies that are shooting this dope complain that it doesn't last long. The term they would use is it doesn't have any legs, right? The fent is something that you have to continually keep banging throughout the day. It's not like H where you could do it once a day or, at the most twice a day. It's different with fent. It's more of a roller coaster, kind of an up and down thing. So they added a very strong benzodiazepine to it, right? Xylazine. This is not made for humans. It's made for cows and for horses. If you got to knock out a cow or a horse, nothing better than xylazine. This stuff, yeah. The M30s are destroying a generation. Sue, where did I just miss that? See, you guys are just going really fast. But yeah, the M30s are destroying an entire generation. And they're killing 300 people a day. That's 100 households, right? About 110 or something households in the U.S. Because if you take the average number of people in a house. So as you're driving out of your neighborhood today, take a look around, right? And think to yourself, 110 of these houses, everybody's dead today. Next day, same shit. Day after that, same thing. And if you keep watching the numbers, whenever I talk about this, the numbers drop, and it's a bummer. It really is. I understand that this isn't fun to talk about, right? But it is an ugly, serious problems. The nights are crazy. Look at that picture, man. That's a great picture. The chemical engineers who made them thought they were too strong. Yeah, they were never used. That's a fact. It's a fact. That substance came out, I want to say, in the 50s. And that's exactly what happened. It was designed and they brought it to bear. At first, they were trying to get something for childbirth because there are women that can't take an opiate, like a naturally occurring, come from a poppy kind of opiate. So they were looking to make something that they could give to women that can't have a morphine-based product. Ho, good to see it. And what they came up with instead was a painkiller that was so friggin' rugged that they went, ooh, no, put that away, right? Put that away. The reason it's back in popularity currently is because it is simple as hell to make, right? Like amphetamines would not be easy to make, but crystal methamphetamines is super easy to make. Same principle with this stuff, man. Killing Americans to get replaced by immigrants and legal doesn't matter. M30s are everywhere. I'm not in the drug scene anymore, but there are so many. I hear about them all the time. Homeless are being pushed these and pushed these. Yeah, you know what? And they're very, very cheap. This is Boodikaboo. By the way, this is not a stupid question. This is a logical question, right? Why would you kill off your customers, right? Doesn't make any sense. Why would you kill off your customers? Well, the answer to that question is this. It doesn't make any sense, right? At all, man. 11 years clean from smack tomorrow. Good God in heaven. Well, that is just awesome, Dan Moody. Huh? How good is that? The official participation trophy of the lifeboat. Definitely worth busting out for 11 years clean off of the black. Tell you what, how about a 3 in the chat for the pumping your fist in the air and going, God, I love that. 11 years. That is as cool as it gets right there, man. For real. As cool as it gets. So here's the thing. Back in the day, if one or two of your customers passed away from you putting a dangerous product into your dope, it was just good for business because people would say, "Ooh, I want whatever killed that guy." I know that sounds like one of the dumbest things that anyone could ever say, but it's a fact. It's an absolute fact. So, but nowadays it's different. Nowadays, when it comes down to opinion time, right? Opinion time, Boudica. They don't care about making money. I mean, don't get it wrong. They're happy that the money's coming in, but what they are trying to do is kill people. If they were trying to make money, when you found out you were killing 150 people a day, you would have backed off on the amount of product you were pressing into the pill. Two things would have happened. Your profit margin would have gone up, right? Your profit margin would have gone up. People continue to use for a longer period of time. They become addicts and they pay you for a lifetime. That would have been really solid, right? Profit margins would have gone up massively. That's number one. And the people that don't die typically will get other people addicted. So you've got this web that continues to grow. Instead of doing that, when they found out that it was killing 150 people a day, and that we were losing massive amounts of people every day in the U.S., they doubled down. They made the crap stronger. Every consecutive batch that comes across the border is stronger than the one before. Shane, have a great day. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you, man. You understand what I'm saying, people? It's not just we're watching this continue to go up in strength again and again and again. The stuff's poison. And the crazy thing is, if, let's say I hadn't gone to prison and I was still out there in the world, I'm not the kind of guy that would have overdosed on this. More than likely. Because I would have taken it and crushed it the hell up, started out with really small amounts. I would have test fired the stuff. I'd have put a little bit on tin foil and fired it because I was a 30-year junkie. And if something came across the table that was brand new and I had never seen it, I'd have been real skeptical, right? The problem with this stuff is this is getting people that have no idea what they're getting, right? There's a lot of people out there that believe these are Percodans still, or Percocets rather. At least that's how most of them start. These look exactly like, they're, unless you have two of them side by side, they look a hell of a lot like a real Perc 30. Yeah, you got to pay the piper. You end up paying double. I think, if you look at where this stuff is coming from, right? This is coming from the beast from the east. Yeah. That red country, you don't want to say their name, starts with a C. They'll bury your video if you talk about them. For real. They're big fans of the NBA, don't you know? Huh? They play a different kind of checkers, usually using marbles. I'm surprised you didn't know that. I wasn't sure the poor drug addicts that made it stronger and stronger. Oh my God. No, it's no. What they're doing is, I'm sorry, people, but look at this thing. If you were going to start, and I'm going to get all kinds of people angry as hell, but I don't care. If you were going to start a conflict, if you had an enemy out there and you were patient, if your enemies thought in terms of 4 years and then somebody new in 4 years and somebody new in 4 years, but your country, you get a ruler might stay in there for 60 years, 50 years. And they brag that they think in terms of centuries, right? Where we don't. We live completely different. But if you were going to be going to battle with somebody like that, if you flooded the market in their country with a really cheap, very, very addicting substance, right, that killed hundreds of people every single day of military age, and the ones that aren't dead, a lot of them are strung out, right? This is a very, very effective way to damage a country, right? It's chemical warfare. Call it whatever you want. It's chemical warfare. Sadly, we're complicit in it as a country. And before you get pissed, both sides, right? At one time or another, the Republicans and the Democrats both wanted to build a wall only to have the other side shoot it down, right? They know it would be a good thing to stop dope from coming in, but they don't want to give the other side a win. And that's a sad thing. And I'm not getting political. I'm talking about both parties. So don't start with me. I told people since the start of the boat, I'm a one-issue guy. I'm tired of watching people whose only sin is that they have a disease, right? And the people of the world going, you know how easy it is to kill all the people that have that disease? Let's kill them. Let's thin the herd. And then let's make it even more insidious, because if you've watched any of my channel stuff on the lifeboat before, you've heard all the stories. But the little girl that had a root canal had her molars extracted, and she had driven away from the house, and they were about 10, 15 minutes away from her home. And she said, you got to turn back. I need a pain pill. I'm hurting really bad. And one of the people in the car said, what did they give you? And she said, I think it's Percocet. It would have been a 5 milligram Percocet, not a 30. But the person said, oh, I have those. And this girl wasn't a junkie. Right? She wasn't a drug addict. She was looking for a pain pill. Dead, right? And fast. Does fent come from the poppy plant, or is it chemicals? Fentanyl has never seen a poppy plant. It is completely synthetic, right? And this is why. So it is an opioid, a synthetic opioid, not an opiate, which would have come from a poppy. A poppy is only going to get so strong, right? You're not going to genetically engineer heroin to make it 7,000 times stronger. If you could, it would take a very, very long time, because you'd have to keep growing another season, and then keep growing another season and playing with it and doing all this. Well, in the lab, you could just double the strength, and then eventually fentanyl will become what they call carfentanil, right? That's the stuff you use to knock out pachyderms, where if you take 1 grain of this stuff that looks like 1 grain of salt, right, it'll take you off of planet Earth quicker than you could say Jimmy Crack Corn, and I am bumming. You live in Vancouver, Canada. I have been there so many times, Cat Dam. I used to do a lot of work in Canada. So here's the thing with the fent. It's horrifically dangerous because of the fact that they can keep making it stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I would do bath salts before I would do street fent. I don't blame you. While you were answering my question, I was shushing my cats who were yelling for their breakfast. Well, that just makes me happy, man. Yes, it is. It absolutely is another thing that we can thank them for. Keep it real. I'm not going to lie to you. And up until just recently, about 95% of all the stuff coming in that was made this way came from the beast from the east. India has recently gotten involved. North Korea rather, is allegedly cranking stuff out as well, because now there's a damn demand, right? My fiance is a fool. But yeah, so now there's a bunch of different countries jumping in on this because the demand is incredible. There are so many people buying these things. You hear about the bus. I live in Arizona, and you hear about these bus where they're like 400,000 tabs. 400,000 tabs. You got any idea how many people didn't die because they grabbed that? For real, those things, the number of deaths in there, they estimate 1 in 6 pills are deadly. Now you go, how's that possible? Well, look, most people are smart enough at this point where if they are buying them, they're probably crushing those things up, putting them into 4 different piles, weighing them out, doing all kinds of things. Because especially if you're a junkie, like I said, the junkies probably aren't going out like this. It's the rookies. It's high school kids. It's freshmen in college. It's all of these people that they smoke some pot and they party, and these guys will be like, hey man, I got some, and they may even say I got fent. And you might do it 25 times. It's safe until it isn't, right? And that night it might be because, you had a couple of beers, or you threw a Valium on top of it, or you had a couple of beers and threw a Valium on top of it. Just one of those days. Sleep the wrong way, your head's back, head to the side, get that sleep apnea, your throat shuts off, and you're so chilled out, because that's what fent does. You're so damn chilled out that it just takes you to the other side. I don't know that anybody could argue that. Can drugs ever be stopped? Says Sophia. It's a great question. Can drugs ever be stopped? You know what? What a great question, man. Dead Cell, I agree with this. Are you ready, people? Huh? You ready for a Tommy Scoville rant? Buckle up, Buttercup. There's only one way you could ever stop drugs, right? For real. And the only way that you're ever going to stop drugs is making them so they don't get people high anymore, right? Even animals in nature get high. You can watch as apples begin to ferment when they hit the ground and start rotting, right? Chipmunks, squirrels, things like that will come over and they will intentionally go to the fruit that is rotting because they like catching a buzz, right? Elephants do it. There are so many animals in the animal kingdom that go out of their way to catch a buzz. If you've ever watched kids at a daycare center spinning in circles, right, they're trying to catch a buzz, this is a part of who we are. Now, the reality is this. The reality is, out of every 100 people that go out and do drugs, only about 3 out of that 100 are going to crash and burn, right? Meaning they're going to end up dead. They're going to end up in prison. They're going to end up in some kind of an institution or whatever, right? 3 out of 100. Now, there's going to be 10% or whatever whose lives would be so much better if they weren't on that garbage, right? But the vast majority of people who use don't have a problem. I know that sounds crazy because I'm in a room full of people like me who probably have had a problem at one time or another, right? But the vast majority of people who use don't have a problem. So by making the crap illegal, you're making it illegal to protect 3% of the population. And when I first started, or even get say 20% of the population, right? Even if the laws are there to protect 20% of the population, and people will yell, but what, and kids too, but we're not protecting kids. When you make it a black market, you make the drugs so valuable, right? Worth so much money that if a kid says to a grown man, hey, if you score me a little of that stuff, and they go, I would never sell that to a kid. I got $3,000. Come over here, kid. Come on. But the drugs are not valuable because it's so hard to make cocaine or it's so difficult to make heroin. They're so expensive because the smuggling process to get it across that imaginary border, right, makes the value of that drug go through the roof. And the fact that people need these substances, and I'm talking about that percentage that get addicted to it, they need that substance daily, right? They set a new date for the Enterprise letter of the 1st of February. Well, isn't that interesting? Drugs take pain away, but you don't get high. Is that possible? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's what happens. From a pain medication standpoint, there's a perfect level of pain medication. I don't know how you find it because I was never looking for it. But there's an amount of pain medication where if you're in pain and you take the right amount of pain medication, the pain goes away. You don't feel any kind of, because the thing's doing its job. When a pain medication is fun is when you take more than is needed for pain, because then it kills spiritual pain, emotional pain, yeah? The heavy duty pain. And that's why it's so addicting, right? Well, we can't have that. We can't have that. Hey, all, totally off topic. This tough chick is having a very tough day. Almost everything I've touched today has turned to complete yeah. I'm struggling. My self-worth is in the trash today. Well, first of all, this does happen to everybody, right? And, when I was incarcerated, the level of depression, right? Everybody is medicated in prison, or if they're not, they should be. There's a lot of people that don't believe in it, but there's only about 3 or 4 guys out of every unit that are actively going and seeking treatment, trying to get help, talking to people. Something inside of us doesn't want to do therapy. Everybody fights it, right? one of the most therapeutic things that you can do, and it doesn't require you spending $1, is getting a piece of paper, putting a pencil to it, and start writing. And on days where everything is off and I feel like dog shit, right? What's happening is an acronym we call ANTS, right? ANTS. They crawl all over your brain and mess with you. They're automatic negative thoughts. It's that internal monologue that tells you suck. It's why your self-worth is in the trash, right? And it says stuff like, mom didn't love you enough. You're not very good. You're not really all that attractive. You really need to lose a bunch of weight, right? Everybody kind of thinks you're a douche. And I have a feeling that person in accounting is talking about me behind my back, right? All of this stuff goes on and it continues to go in a loop. And the goal becomes, whether you're, by the way, addicted to drugs, not addicted to drugs, or just having a shit day, we're all in the same boat. That's why we call this place the lifeboat, right? Honestly, we're at the point today where everybody is doing something to get a dopamine hit so that they can get through the day. And it might be checking your social media, right? It might be actually going and getting a buzz, whatever the case may be. But if you take time to sit down and write, right? Spend a little bit of time putting pen to paper and writing about things. You will watch how fast you can actually stop automatic negative thoughts, right? They're automatic and they're negative. You have to put something in manually that's positive. I sit down and I write things I'm grateful for. I sit down and write all of the reasons that I'm not a piece of shit, right? I write down all of the reasons that that my self-esteem shouldn't be in the dump. Even if I'm having a really bad day and things aren't going well, I can almost guarantee, right? Not always, but I can almost guarantee you're not at rock bottom right now. You're probably on your way back up, right? Rock bottom is not usually about the time that you hear. Most people hit rock bottom and then find the lifeboat later, and it's kind of a supplement to help keep you going kind of a thing. So I think back to, excuse me, June 26th, 9 years ago, when somebody buried a knife in my stomach in prison, and I got life flighted off the yard, and then I got put into solitary confinement. And when I got put into solitary confinement, I couldn't get a bag of dope to save my life, right? Just couldn't do it. There's nobody walking by the cell, right? They didn't even let people into the hallway I was in to sweep. Because normally a guy goes by and you're like, hey, dude, I'm a junkie. I need a bag. Go find somebody to help me, right? Tell them who I am. As long as you're a good, solid dude, they'll get you stuff always. You can always get it. As long as you got good credit, someone's going to get you something, because that's how everybody in there is making money. But I didn't have an inmate that could walk in front of my cell. That week was hell. It was the lowest I've ever been in my life. And when I have a bad day these days, I do something that I never did back then. I drop stuff on what I call the little perspective meter, right? Like, how serious is this shit? Because 7 days after I got stabbed in the absolute middle of the most ridiculous, dope, sick withdrawals, just hating it, the mailman comes and brings me a letter. And the letter started, Dear Tommy, there are 10 million things that I wish I could say to you right now. The next sentence said, but I want a divorce. So of all of those 10 million words and things that she wanted to say, I want a divorce was all she could come up with. 7 days to the day after I was stabbed. Absolutely a horrifically low day, right? About the bottom of the barrel. But it was the point at which I started to climb. And some days that feel really, really crappy. We have a friend of the boat, right? And he said, you can feel free to tell any single part of my story on the channel any single time you want. So you guys know Turd. Turd Ferguson. You guys know him. He's in the chat. His drug of choice is crack cocaine. And he did not have a problem with me telling you that. He's a musician. He's a great guy. And he's got a girl that he loves, right? Big time. And today he walked into rehab. And it was it was one of those things that, we take a crap load of losses on the lifeboat. We do. It's the nature of the business, right? 80% of people who are addicted fail. So when we get victories, it's awesome. And it's just, this was kind of a miracle that he got into this place. He's been waiting a really, really long time. And he reached out and he's really been working on sobriety. And he's not walking in here having smoked crack yesterday. He's walking into this place with 10 days sobriety under his belt. And he wouldn't have done it without Tiffy Tiff, another person on the boat that's just didn't give up on this cat. Today started out as one of those days for me too, if you want to know the truth. But talking to him before he went in, knowing he's given up the phone, and we're gonna walk this one with him. We really are. He's very willing to share this journey with us, but for the first 5 days, there's no phone. He's got to give that up. And on the way over, he was freaking out. He said to me, he goes, my life is flashing in front of me. He's like, all of the mistakes I've made. He said, the horrible things I've done, all of that stuff. He's like, man, I got to forget this. I said, don't do that. Don't do that. Right? Q used to say, savor the flavor. I'd get really pissed off at something that the prison did, and I'd want to kill somebody. And I'd be gritting my teeth and getting so pissed off, and I'd go, damn it. And he'd go, smell that, man. Savor it. Don't forget that. He said, you'll be 5 years out. You'll be wearing polo stuff and, playing golf and doing whatever. He's like, man, you'll forget all this. And that's when the guy says to you, hey, man, you want to do a bump? And you go, yeah, why the hell not, man? Been a long time, right? I'm wildly in control. Yeah, man, lay one out, right? But if you remember the car ride to rehab, $5 years later, you probably won't do it. You had a rough ride to rehab today. It's pretty amazing when you see somebody where all of the bullshit gets stripped away. For real. No ego, no super ego, right? Just who the person is. He's really all in on getting sober. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And it happened through what all of you do in the chat here every day. I know we talk about true crime. We talk about a lot of other stuff, but you guys give me a lot of latitude to talk about some other things that are really, really a beautiful thing. And it helps. It changes lives. I have no illusions that I can ever use again. Oh, I can. I mean, I'll be back in prison within probably 60 days. Okay. But I take some kind of solace in knowing I can. It sounds crazy. I won't. Yeah, you got a better chance of passing a diamond, but I could, right? I can do anything at this point. I love it when people go, "You didn't have to do that, man." You're damn right I didn't. Damn right. Nothing I have to do. I walked out of prison, man, and I don't do anything anymore that I don't want to do. If I'm working with somebody or I'm helping somebody or doing any of that, everything I do these days, I do because I want to. It is a absolute blessing. You know what? One tough chick. I love that. And I'm so glad that we were here and we were live. And that was a rugged day. I had my right leg amputated on my birthday in 2020 during COVID. I had to make the call because I was by myself due to the virus. That day sucked. This is the meter, right? The perspective meter. You're in line at the store and it says 10 items or less, and some jackass cuts you off and you look and they got like 12 items in the cart and you just kind of want to put your thumbs on their throat and choke the life out of them. That's a 1, right? What happened to Anne from Massachusetts? She would have to answer that herself. But I would imagine on a 1 to 10, that's got to be pretty damn close to a 10, right? If it's not, it's certainly got to be in the 9 range. But those things that happen to us, if we remember them, and if we take the time, as silly as this sounds, if we take the time to quantify these things, when something crappy happens to me, I do this all the time. I'll go, it's about a 7. It's about a 7. And the reason I do that is I'm a junkie. When something bad happens to me later and I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through this. And then I go, might be an 8. I got through a 7. I remember the 7. I got through that. I had been sober about 6 years when my father passed away. And I was in a halfway house when it happened. And that was a 10. That was a 10. And I got through it. And everybody I knew on planet Earth called me and went, dude, take a deep breath, man. Because it was the saddest thing. It occurred to me. It was in my face. It was right there. And I realized that everybody else was calling each other and just consoling them. You know what I mean? and saying he was a great guy, and sort of having that conversation. But every person that was calling me was thinking he's not going to get through this. Right? He's going to stick a needle in his arm. And honestly, it was even if I had to put money on it, the safe money would have been on me relapsing. But I didn't. I didn't. And when you pop out of the other side of something like that, you go, right? You end up gritting your teeth and flexing and going, you know what? Bring it. Right? Bring it. There's something really beautiful about getting through this. I've told the story before on the lifeboat, but I got my ass kicked once. You'll hear people, tough guys all the time. Never lost a fight in my life. I've lost a few. I've lost a few fights. But I lost one in another country. Got my ass kicked by honestly, a small band of people, like a mob, all punk rockers, which is a really distressing thing to look at when you're getting your ass kicked. But the entire group were punk rockers. I was in another country, but I mean, pulverized. I was unconscious. I had to get picked up, brought to a hospital. I was in there for a hot minute. I was in bad shape. And when the doctor came in, the person that told the story, the person that relayed it to the hospital said, yeah, like 15, 20 people jumped him and just stomped on him. And it was it wasn't a fight. It was an ass kicking. And when the doctor came in, he goes, did you hear exactly what happened to you? I said, I did not. And he goes, well, apparently you got stomped out by just a whole little army of punk rockers, like 20 people. And I went, damn. And he started to laugh. And I go, failing to see what was funny about that. And he goes, well, you got to feel awesome. And I go, why would I feel awesome? And he goes, well, what are the friggin' odds you're ever going to get your ass kicked by 20 people again? He's like, the next time you get in a fight or whatever, and one guy smacks you around, you're going to be like, nah, it's a joke. And I know he was being funny, but the perspective on that's not far away. Does a junkie always crave the drug of choice, even after they beat the drug? Rick, I don't. I don't. I guess it's a case-by-case basis. But personally, me, I don't crave heroin. I don't crave opiates. I don't. There are days that make me think about it. Today, the snow is falling, and it's the first snowfall I've seen in a hot minute. And snowfall is a trigger for me like I can't explain because of how much of my life I spent as a skier. There's something about the first snowfall of the year that just always kind of makes my skin itch and do that kind of a number. But I'm not craving it. I'm really not. And the longer that I get away from being in active addiction, the farther I get away from where I was slamming dope every day, the less I think about it, the less it becomes a thing for me at all. What you doing? Can you see her hair? That's Gertith Louise. She's kind of rocking a punk rock haircut. Come here. What's up, Gertie? You want to come up? No? Come here. Come on. Come up here. Come on, Gertie. There she is. Look at what I got. The world has come full circle. Do you see this? Do you remember Gertie, the judgmental dog? She used to just sit and stare at me all judgmental like. Now she comes and hangs out on Dad. She knows the truth. Of course I'm being nice to her. I know she is. I'm kidding. I love her. She's a great dog. Honestly, I love that she chills out and sleeps on me. And she does all the time. Worst week I ever had in my life was detoxing off of Fent. Good God, man. Woo! Worst week I ever had in my life was detoxing off of a Fent for a week in jail. I couldn't even get myself up off the floor of the shower without help from the guards. Never touched the stuff since. Victory, my brother. Victory! That right there is a victory. For real. God bless you. Oh, I remember kicking. I mean, honestly, without exception, every single time I kicked, I was in prison or I was locked up. I was in a county jail. It's always that way for me because the only thing that ever slows me down, right? I've used this joke on the channel so many times that I think it's almost become a dad joke around here. But as my friend used to say to me all the time, I'm allergic to heroin. When I do it, I break out in handcuffs. Sometimes I can keep the run going for 4 or 5 years. Sometimes, I mean, the first time I kept it running for decades. But eventually you run out of hustles, and you run out of cons, and you run out of things you can sell, and you run out of people you can steal from. And then you start robbing banks, you start doing whatever. For me, it started off with me stealing. And then you got to steal, and then you got to sell what you stole. And in the beginning, that is so easy, right? In the beginning, it's so easy. You sell, you steal something that's worth $1,000, and you meet the fence, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you $500 for it." And you're like, "Took me 2 seconds to steal it. Yeah, here you go." And then you bring another one back, and he gives you 500, and then he starts going, "Oh yeah, I already got enough of those, right? I mean, I can take it, but I can give you 200 for it." And man, by the end, they're giving you like 10 cents on the dollar, and all you want to do is kill them. And yeah, I was always pissed off. And you cut out the middleman, you get rid of the fence, the guy that has to sell the stuff for you, and you just steal the cash, which is obviously more dangerous. But I didn't use a gun. I wasn't a violent person. I just went in and asked them for the cash. How do I like snow skiing? It was what I did for a living until I was. That was my life for a really long time. I was a freestyle skier. Done a lot of it. So yeah, one of my favorite things to do. I started when I was about 2, and I did it until I was about old. I cold turkeyed off of methadone, and for the first 10 days were horrific. But I swear it took a couple of months for that crap to completely get out of my system. Boho hobo, you know something? If I had to guess, I'd say you're wrong, and it was probably closer to 4 or 5 months. Honestly, I have a lot of experience with kicking methadone, people kicking methadone, me kicking methadone, my brother kicking methadone, cold turkey every time. I've told the story before. Someone that I know stole gallons of methadone, gallons of it. We had the whole bottles that you used to see when you went in and they would use the pump. We had 16 of those bottles. And we were drinking this stuff out of wine glasses. I had the worst habit you could possibly imagine. And I got caught pulling a job. I was ripping a place off, and I got caught and taken down and beat up and arrested. It sucked. It was one of those days. But I cold turkeyed off of about 300 or 400 milligrams a day. Like I was doing a lot of it. And it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me in my life. It really was absolutely the worst thing that had ever happened to me in my life. Sorry. I have a live news feed that I got to check because I want to make sure that nothing huge is going to be happening, man. Got to make sure nothing huge is going to be happening. So, because we're getting close to the top of the hour, I want to say this. Hey, Robin Bliss, this is important to me. I did a show on Diddy about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. You know what? It could even be 2 years ago now. But I said, I'm doing this now. I'm not a Diddy guy. I don't follow his music, none of that. I'm doing this because this is going to be the Black Epstein. This is going to be bigger than Epstein, but this is the Black Epstein, and it's going to be bigger. I called this. I saw this. I'm telling you right now, I did this show, and we didn't talk about Snoop much in the beginning of this. I mean, only in the beginning, but I'm going to tell you something right now. We're going to see in March, we're going to see this Keefe D case start walking its way through the court system. Keep your eye right on the possibility. Start thinking really logically about what if they weren't trying to kill Tupac? What if they were trying to kill Suge Knight? Who would have benefited from that? Right? Who would have stood to come up the biggest if that were to happen? And the answer is Crips. A couple of them in particular, right? There are some people that really would have benefited. Also, a cat named Reggie Ray. But I think when this thing all shakes out, you're going to see that the two people that were involved in this, and this is an opinion, right? This is an opinion. I'm not saying this is a fact, but I think those two were the catalyst behind this. I'm sorry. I think Snoop's filthy in this. I really do. I think Snoop is filthy in this, and I think I may be able to paint going forward. I think I'll be able to paint a fairly convincing case that the target was not Tupac Shakur, that the target was Suge Knight, because with Suge gone, his woman would have inherited the entire business, all of it. There's a lot of that story that doesn't make sense, people. So I'm here to call the shot the same way that I did on Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs. Go watch my first Sean Combs video ever. This is the same video right now. I'm telling you, my opinion is this. I think Snoop's a dirtbag, man. I think the dude's a dirtbag. And I think he had a hand in having somebody removed from planet Earth. I got proof. I got opinion. But I am going to take a lot of things that people have said, and we're going to put it together. Before this trial comes, I'm going to show you why. I don't think there's any chance in hell Keefe D did this. Crazy, huh? But I don't think Keefe D did this. Just real quick, you understand what happened with Keefe D? They gave him a proffer letter. They said, if you tell us what happened in this case, whatever you tell us today, we can't charge you with. It's the filthiest thing they can do in the world, because they can take what you said and they can go show it to your homeboy. They're not going to use it to prosecute you, but they can show it to your homeboy and go, look at your rat bastard friend and what he just said about you. This is the guy you're protecting. Like, they can use that thing to bend you over, I promise. They can't prosecute you for what you said. That can't be used. But you're opening up the door. You're telling them you were in the car that the killing took place and all that. All of this is BS, man. And I'll tell you something else. All of this East Coast, West Coast stuff, I'm going to paint you a pretty different picture, I think. It's crazy. Again, this ain't my genre. It's not. But I'm coming at this from a criminal standpoint. That's how I'm always coming at these things, right? I got to see where the payout is, right? Who stands the most to gain by killing Pac, right? Then why do they do it? Okay. What if it ended Pac? What if the murder was for Suge? When the shoe gets on that foot, you got people with way more motive than you can possibly go the other direction in. Way more. Now, do I think Puff Daddy talked a lot of crap? Do I think he even said I'd like him? But I think he also wanted Suge gone. I think a lot of people wanted Suge gone. I don't think it was about Pac. I think it was about Suge. But stick around. Right? Stick around. And I'm going to try to prove it to you. All right? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? One thing that I really remember from the 90s is that Snoop really was a mother-loving pimp. He certainly dressed that way, didn't he? Teresa Lynn, good to see you. How are you? Welcome. Welcome. Off topic, but how are things going with Q? We are still waiting to hear back from the courts. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I got a good feeling. I really do, man. I got a good feeling about this. I really do. I spoke to Q really, really early. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Not so early that he must have called me from an illegal phone. Not that kind of early. Just early. Like, and by illegal phone, I don't mean a cell phone. I just mean that sometimes when he's at Unicor, he gets a shot at a phone that people aren't watching real close, and he can make a call. So sometimes I get a call and you don't hear that. This call is from a recorded line. They're probably recording it, but you don't hear that because it isn't an inmate phone. So they're not taking any time off his account or anything like that. But I spoke to him today and I said to him, are you hanging in there? Are you stressing out? He's like, man, I ain't stressed out at all. I said, you're not? He said, not at all. He said, man, we put on such a great argument, dude. He's like, I just don't see how we could lose. Right. So I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. And I'll tell you what, it puts a lump in my throat, but I have a really good feeling, man. I really do. I have a really, really good feeling on that one. Yeah, he's trying to do this now, and he's trying to do this now on purpose, right? Hey, boho hobo. Yeah, you know something? Everybody, every Q needs somebody in their corner. So I'm glad to hear that your Q has one, man. Snoop is painting the picture that he's a choir boy now. Well, he's got to, doesn't he? I mean, he's trying to court Disney, and look, he went mainstream, and I think very often people they overcompensate, right? They take it too far. And I think that Snoop realizes he's got issues from his past, huge ones. And I don't care how many joints he smokes with Martha Stewart, right? Or how many times we see him on a commercial, or we got a lot of unanswered questions, man. There's a lot of unanswered. What the hell do you mean you had a radio and you were listening to everything that was going on there? Why were you telling people not to go out there, man? And how come you've never really, really just come out with it and told us what's up? Why were you and Tupac not friends there at the end? What's that all about? Right? I mean, the real deal. Not the, I wish things were better. We were beefing there a little bit toward the end, but you know how like brothers kind of miss me with that BS, right? What was going on? What was going on? Yeah, got to work for them Olympics, right? Sold out, Buddha Kaboo says, yeah. Yeah, but I think Boudica, you're right. He is a sellout, no question. But I think he sold out to protect his happy ass, right? I think he probably had an egg shoved up it, and he needs a little corporate protection. This is a dude that needs some protection, right? I think there are mad skeletons in this dude's closet. There are people out there who allege that he and Reggie Ray Jr. got away with murder. It's the best argument I've heard for this shit. It is, man. It is the best argument I've heard for it. And I'm going to be bringing it to you in the way that I do. And I'm going to tell you who I ripped it off from. It's not my theory. It's not, but it's the best damn theory I've heard. And with all due respect to the dude, it's going to sound arrogant as hell, but very often I can hear a person's theory, and then I think I have a way of explaining it that may make more sense. Because some of the people that throw these theories out, it sounds like a couple of convicts having a conversation, for real. And if you kind of don't speak convict, I think a lot of it gets lost in translation, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've seen that video. In fact, I watched that video just a while ago, just recently. How's Casper? Casper's fantastic. Snoop Diddly Dog Style. Read Kim Porter's book. I did. I absolutely did. Here's the thing, though, man. I'm struggling like hell to believe that's Kim Porter's book. I'm really struggling to believe that that's Kim Porter's book. If you think that that is the Kim Porter memoirs, I'm not mad at you. I swear to God, I'm not mad at you, right? But if you do think it's the Kim Porter memoirs, put a deuce in the chat. And if you think that it is not, give me a 3. What's sad is this. I don't doubt it because of anything I read. There's nothing in there that I read that I thought, that's all BS. There's no chance in hell that that's real. Everything I read in there, I think, is plausible. I don't have a problem with any of that. My problem is with the cast of characters that brought this thing to light, right? I'm sorry, man, but they're shystery, man. They're shystery as hell. I think I just made that word up. Do you like it? Honestly, so Dead Cell, you think what you read sounded like BS to you? I don't know Kim Porter. You know what I mean? And there's not enough interviews out there where you can look at Kim Porter and go, yeah, that definitely sounds like Kim. Now, I've heard people that are close to her say that it didn't sound like her, but they're trying to protect her reputation. Of course they're going to say that. Just sounded like my girlfriend was leaving the They're gestury. There you go. They're gestury. I would need to hear it from Kimura. You know what? Want to love? That would be a decent source of the info for real, right? You're talking about Kimura Simmons? Yeah. Kimura Simmons would probably be in the best position to verify, yeah, damn straight. And that's right where we're at. You got a better chance of crapping a 15-carat diamond than Kimura talking. I just don't see it happening, man. Courtney Burgess had to deliver the flash drive that came with it. He was filmed when he was summoned by the feds. I believe all of that. I believe all that. Who gave him the hard drives? And is it really from her? I know that there are hard drives. It's going to be interesting. I just feel like he's here to cloudy the waters and to screw things up. Maybe I'm just a cynic. Go ahead, call me a cynic. No, I mean it. Go ahead. You can call me a cynic. But he just seems like I don't buy it. How's that? The future is rainy, thundering, and humid, but I'm not melting. So there's that. Helena, I am so glad to hear that. I believe the last time that we spoke, it was a million degrees and you had meat falling off the bone like you had been in a rotisserie oven. None of these celebs will talk unless they are faced with jail. Yeah, well, I hope, by the way, Popcorn Planet, you can't really be more solid. It's a great content creator. Yeah. Whether you like the, everybody prefers certain styles of delivery or whatever, but you're not going to get misinformation over there. If that cat said that we're looking at the Enterprise letter being moved to February 1st, and that's probably going to be the case. That's exciting. That's really exciting for me. I think that's awesome. That really shortens up our timetable. 21 days, something like that. We're going to get names, people. We're going to get names, people. Sunny and hot in Melbourne. All right, Boodakaboo, I love it. I like that channel as well. Andy, there you go. Andy from Popcorn Planet. Yeah, I dig Andy. I really do. I dig Andy. He's good at what he does. It's hard to argue. He's really good at what he does. He's come into the chat a couple of times when I've been on Atwood, when I've been doing the Atwood program. It's always exciting to see Popcorn Planet in the chat. I still get starstruck because I don't watch. I haven't watched the television program in so damn long, but I'm a YouTuber. I'm always blown away when I see big name YouTubers hanging out, and he's a big one. Dallas area, about 6 to 8 inches of snow. Staying home. Where's Kristen Melinda? She lives in Dallas. I bet she is bumming. That's about what we got here. I would say we got about 6 inches of snow here. Kathy Ann can correct me, but that's about what it looks like here in this part of Bug Tussle. All right, people. I'm going to go and work on the next show. I will be seeing all of you this evening, and if you're not there, I know where you live. I can't back that up. I don't really know where any of you live, except maybe Johnny Scoville. And well, I know where a couple of you live, but you all better show up anyway. And smack that like button on the way out. If you have not hit subscribed, you should do it. Do you know why? Because it is a statistical fact that you cannot win a lottery if you are not subscribed to the Lifeboat. I can't back that up either. But go ahead and hit subscribe. I promise you will thank me later. All right, people. I will see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Have a great day, people.